Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episodes 7 through 9 of Big City Greens. And you may be confused. It's like, what are you talking about 7 through 9? You've already done those episodes, haven't you? No. If you look back on the episodes previously, you might notice that the numbers have been changed in the episode titles. This is because I had been talking about this on Discord and everything, and it's kind of been a question for me on how the episodes are actually organized, because different shows do it different ways. Some shows, basically every half segment is counted as its own episode. So like in an entire half hour you would get two episodes instead of one. But some shows don't do it that way. Some shows do it like, oh, this is one episode, but you have like 5A and 5B. You have two different segments for the episode. I had been counting it up until now as like each segment as its own episode, because that was what it basically said on the website I get these from. But everywhere else I have been seeing this, it has been like listing them as just like, this is episode 1 and it just has two segments. Not that it's episode 1 and 2. So I've decided to switch things up after talking with some others on the Discord. And yeah, we're just going to be accounting it as like each one is its own episode. Each segment is just a segment now. And it's like, so the, like, for example, 9 and 10 from before would be 5A and 5B. So we are now on episodes 7, 8, and 9. Because we left off on what we thought were 11 and 12 before, but we're actually just episode 6, A and B. So, yeah. Just wanted to get that out of the way. But also, this is a 3-episoder because it is going to be the last one before a break. We were supposed to take a break before, and it just kind of dissolved. It just kind of didn't end up happening. But we're going to be taking a break now, and the reason for that is Ruby. Ruby has just come back with Volume 9, and because of that, Big City Greens is the only show I can reasonably see myself taking a break from. It's an episodic show, so I don't have to worry much about anything with ongoing story and narrative. And on top of that, there's, I think, about 30 episodes, or something like that. 30-something episodes. I think it's early 30s, at least. Which means that with these, we'll be almost a third of the way through with this break. And I was debating whether or not to do 3 or 4 episodes. Like, do we include episode 10 in this, or do we only go up to where we would start episode 10 when we return? And I was kind of debating on it, and I decided to just do 3 because I just thought it would be easier. I just figured it's like, yeah, we could do 4, but we're just gonna stick with 3, I think. That way next time we'll start right away with episode 10 and go from there. Now, I don't know exactly when we're going to be coming back. I don't know. I can't say it's going to be right after Ruby or anything is over, because, like, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. But just be comfortable in the fact that we will be returning, obviously. We're just taking a break. Might be just a really short break, might be a little longer, I don't know. It's not going to be like super long. I really don't want to keep doing that for a lot of these shows. We react to so many shows, and so many of them have just been on hold forever, you know? I don't want to keep doing that. So I'm going to try... I'm going to try to get back to it like within a reasonable time, but we'll see. We'll see. It's just there's so many shows. There's just always so many shows. It's so hard to keep track of. I don't know how other reactors do it. I don't know how other reactors like put forth so much effort. I know some reactors have like their own studios. Like I think Blindwave and Normies both do. Where it's like they don't actually like record from a home. They go to an actual studio that they rent or whatever, and they record there. So in that way, it kind of acts as an actual job for them. Plus, obviously, they have their Patreons and everything, and they do kind of make it their actual job. But even people who record from their own homes, like Rough Senpai and whatnot, it's like he makes it his actual job as well. It's like, how can you dedicate so much time to this? Like every time I try to dedicate that much time to it, it wears me out. But even outside of just the time, it's like, how do you get to all these shows? Like Ruff doesn't do like all these shows. He does a lot with Nani no Anime as well, but it's like a lot of these reactors like do so many shows, and anytime anything new comes up that they're interested in, like a new Star Wars show or something, they get to it right away. Like, or a new Marvel show, they don't like wait. And that mystifies me how they can just get to it like without changing the rest of their schedule at all. It's like they're still doing everything else they've been doing. They just add another show in, and it's like, how do you? The only thing I can think of is because the fact that they go to a studio and record for so many hours a day, as like an actual job kind of thing. It's like that's the only reason I can think of that they would have the energy to be able to do that, to just throw in more shows. And I know you guys have told me like I don't need to get to every show, but it's like there's a lot of shows that I still just want to get to. Like, yeah, there's some shows that I do watch on my own, like The Last of Us as an example. Um, but there's plenty of shows that I do specifically want to react to, so it's tough. It's tough. And I wish it was easier to get to all of these, without having to put them off forever. There's multiple shows on my list for the future in terms of rewards, in terms of shows I did first impressions to, in terms of just stuff I want to get to on my own time. There's so many that I want to get to. Like, if I were reacting to everything I would want to react to like right now, I would probably be doing like uh, 28 different shows at once. I'd be like doing 3 shows per day of the week. 7 times 3 is 28, right? No. No, what? No, 21. 7 times 4 is 28. I suck at math, you have to understand. So it'd be like 21 shows. Um, the point is, it'd be a shit ton of shows and more than I could definitely handle. So it's like I have to push things back, and I have to like pick and choose, and it sucks so bad. I wish I could just continue going through Big City Greens for now, but I have to make a decision here, and it's like I think the best decision for the channel and for my own mental health right now would be to not to take a break from that and push Ruby up, because if I'm being completely honest, Ruby's a priority show for me. I've talked about this in the past, but for those who might be new, a priority show is exactly as it sounds. It's a series for me that just takes priority over others. If a new season or whatnot is coming for that show, it's going to, you know, take over a spot because it just has that priority for me. It's something that is either important to me or just something I really enjoy that much. Um, Examples would be like Owl House, even though Owl House I don't have to worry about that with because of its final season and release schedule with that. But that would be an example if that had a normal season 3. But One Piece is a priority show. Ruby is a priority show. Stuff like that. Things that are just like really big for me. Big City Greens is not. It's a good show, but it's an episodic, just fun, interesting thing. But yeah, I hope all of that makes sense. I went kind of on a rambling bit there, just discussing all of that. Um, like I said, we will get back to Big City Greens, though. It's like I do enjoy this show, and so it's like this is just a break, you know, just a break, and we will come back to it at a later point. If for no other reason than to see Gloria, because we have not seen a lot of her in this series, which is disappointing because she's kind of the reason I wanted to check this series out. It's like that one video, that Ways We Feel Anxious video, is like the reason I checked this show out, because I wanted to see Gloria. And we've seen her in like 2 episodes, maybe. It's like, I really hope she becomes a little more recurring. Either way, I don't know at all what to expect from these episodes because I just have no way to know. With it being as episodic as it is. Um, but hopefully we get something good. So let's just get this going and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This was a really good set of episodes. Like a really good set. For a number of reasons. I feel like I need to bring up like the full list here just to remember what each one was. Let me see here. Because it's like there's 3 episodes, but there's 6 segments within those. To be fair. But I really like these, and again, a lot of different reasons too. It's like each one wasn't necessarily the same quality for the same reasons. You know what I mean? And some of them, it's like only a part of it was really like that. But either way, let's find it here. Okay. Okay, so I'm seeing the production order thing on this. The production codes. Apparently, some of these are out of order. Grandma's License and Bear Trapped, by the way, which was episode 5, was supposed to come before Cricket Sitter and Backflip Bill, which was episode 4, in terms of production. In terms of these episodes, 9 is correct, but 8 is 107 in production order, and 7 is 105. So the things are a little out of production order, but I don't think, with this type of show, I don't think it really matters all that much. The fact is, the origin story episode of how they first came to Big City was not meant to be the first episode still. I was curious about that, but we got our answer. So, let's start talking about this Gridlocked. That is the first segment of episode 7, and that is the one where Bill is just, losing his mind because the city is becoming too much for him. He needs to get back out to the country. And, yeah. They end up getting stuck in a traffic jam caused by a deer on the freeway. And shenanigans ensue. Now, as I was saying in the reaction, I can't, um, I can't relate. I'm a city girl. I actually prefer the big city kind of um, vibe, I guess you could say. I don't like country living. Like I've lived in some smaller areas, but I've never like lived in the country per se. Um, and it's like even when I've lived in those like less populated areas, for lack of a better term, um, I didn't like it. Like I prefer to be around the city. Like even every time I go to like a convention in a city or something, it's like I always feel more at home there. Whether it's YomaCon in Detroit or the couple times I went to Baltimore for BronyCon, I actually loved Baltimore. Which is weird because I hear people like complain about Baltimore all the time, and it's like, okay, maybe it's just because I don't live there and maybe I don't know like certain things about it, but it's like when I was there, it's like absolutely beautiful and just a wonder to be around. Like I was directly in the Bay Area and everything, and it's like, oh my god, it's just like I could live here easily. Um, so I don't I cannot connect with this segment of episode 7 at all. In terms of Bill and his side of it. Um, but yeah, he ends up going to confront the deer and ends up helping it and takes it back to the wild, to the country. During all of this, Grandma is um, she's kind of just trying to find a good song on the radio that's not like current music because she's an old woman. She can't like current music. I've always thought that idea is dumb. It's like I've known plenty of older people who like modern music. Um, but like, so she calls in to this request hotline for a radio station, and the guy on there has some kind of mother issues that he definitely needs to work through. Maybe get a therapist. Um, but he listens to her and just keeps playing the same song over and over because it's what she wants because she likes the song. Okay. Tilly, she just decides she wants to wash cars. She uses a fire engine to do so, even though, again, fire hoses have a lot of pressure. They have to in order to put out fires in burning buildings. Trying to wash a car from that close of a distance with a fire hose, like you would be shattering those windows. And you would probably be denting the car at points too. Fire hoses have insane pressure. It's like that would not be that would not be okay. And Cricket gets chased by this trucker who he tried to get to pull his horn with. And it was obvious it was going to be like, oh, he's not a bad guy. It's all a misunderstanding. And it was. It's like he was just trying to tell Cricket and bring him back to his truck to tell him that it's like, oh, my horn doesn't work. Sorry. And he's a little crazy, a little weird, but not a bad guy or anything. Um, it was it was okay. It was the weaker segment of this episode for sure. But then we get to the second segment, Mama Bird, and this one is so much better on every level. Uh, Tilly ends up finding an abandoned bird's nest that fell out of the tree, and even though her father tells her that it's a bad idea to mess with it because baby birds, when they hatch, end up, connecting to the first person they see as their mother, um, or, the first living being they see. Um, Tilly doesn't listen, and she decides she wants to become their mother. However, when they hatch, they end up seeing Cricket first. So they end up becoming attached to him instead. This makes her extremely jealous. She tries to get them to like her, but nothing works. And so she gets like really fucking jealous over it. It's like, I think this is the most like negative I've seen Tilly. She's a pretty positive person. She always looks on the bright side. Like, she's been sad a couple times, but I don't think I've ever seen her like this have this much of negative emotions. So that's pretty interesting. Um, but the birds end up getting in trouble because Cricket doesn't know how to take care of them, even though he's the one who they've kind of like attached themselves to, and they end up getting accidentally thrown into a garbage truck. Tilly has to go save them before they're killed when it's compacted. And yeah, she somehow manages to do so. They end up like tweeting along to her song. And yeah, it's I don't know how she got herself out of there. But okay. Um there are two things in this segment that really stood out to me outside of just the episode being good. First, the scene where she's drinking the half and half coffee creamer out of the little cups. She pours like the little creamer cups into a regular coffee cup, and is just drinking them. And like obviously the joke is supposed to be like a heavy drinker at a bar. Gloria's like, "You've had enough." It's like, "I'll tell you when I've had enough." It's like, that's really funny. That is just really fucking funny. That I can't lie. That is just really fucking funny. But then the ending. We have not seen or heard anything about Cricket and Tilly's mother. Everything we've seen has just been them, their father Bill, and Grandma Alice. We have had nothing about the mother. And that one line broke my heart because it implied so much with a single line of dialogue. The baby bird's mother comes back, and as they're heading back into the house, Tilly's like, "Maybe one day our mother will come back." And it's just like my heart shattered at that because that implies so much. It implies that their mother's probably not dead. Because I feel like these two would understand that a little more. They wouldn't think it's like, oh, their mother just like left or something. No, I think that is what the case is. I think their mother left. I don't know whether it was a divorce or she just like abandoned them. I don't know. But she left them. She left the family, and Cricket and Tilly are in denial. They are in denial, and they just think that someday she'll come back. That is what I got from that, and that fucking broke my heart. Like, for a kid to go through that shit and to be in that kind of denial is terrible. Like, parents getting a divorce is one thing, but like a parent leaving with seemingly no explanation to the kids and no contact at all, and the kids clearly not understanding it, that's heartbreaking. Kids don't deserve to go through that. And I've seen this kind of thing in various media. One of the common things I've seen is like the mother or the father leave because they aren't ready to be a parent and they want to like, live their life more. And it's like, then don't have a fucking kid. Or multiple kids in this case. Don't have kids if you're not ready for it. For multiple reasons. That's not fair to you or the kids. If you're just going to leave and abandon them, that's not okay. And mind you, I don't actually know if that's the case here. I don't actually know if she did just abandon them. That's only my guess based on the context clues. But it's like, you don't just do that. That bothers the shit out of me when people do that. It's like, if you're not ready to have a kid, don't have a kid. It's as simple as that. There are ways to prevent that. And I'm not saying abstinence, by the way. I'm not one of those people. If you want to have sex, as long as it's safe and legal, have sex. All good. I'm just saying, you can still have protected sex. There are morning after pills and stuff. There are ways to stop yourself from getting pregnant and having kids. Don't have kids unless you are ready to take care of them. Just like you shouldn't have a pet unless you can take care of them. Doesn't matter how cute they are, you have to be able to care for them. And if you're not prepared for that kind of thing, if you want to live your life, then live your life. Do that first, then have kids. Because otherwise, you're just fucking them up. You're just causing them a lot of needless, terrible pain and misery. And that's not okay. I assume that's going to be delved into further in a future episode. But that really did break my heart. Like, that, it's a single line of dialogue, but it implies so much. And again, I might not be entirely correct about exactly the situation, but still, the implications are there one way or the other. It like really like pushed that into a new level for me for the episode, for the segment at least. So yeah, I obviously wanted to talk about that. Also, John DiMaggio was the truck driver. John DiMaggio, I think, just does a bunch of random voices in this series. He just like does various voices here and there. Because we've heard him before. So anyway, on to episode 8. So segment 1 was Welcome Home. This was our flashback episode. It was basically explaining why they came to Big City and kind of showcasing their first day there. So we find out that the reason that they moved to Big City was because they lost the farm. We don't know the information on why or how, but they lost the farm. That could be due to so many reasons, so it's not enough info to guess on it all. But they lost the farm, so they're moving to the city to live with Grandma Alice, because she is the one who lives here initially. Which I don't think we even knew that before. I don't think we had that information either. But while in the city, Bill is, having a hard time, like, adjusting, while the kids just want to explore. They manage to convince him to go out and check out the city, but their truck ends up getting towed, and they go through this series of events that just, are pretty unfortunate. But they eventually manage to get their truck back, stealing it from the tow lot, and make their way to Grandma's house. And everything kind of just works out from there, I guess. It's a really good prequel episode. It introduces the origin story of these characters and how they came to Big City, and gives us some information we didn't already know, which is a good way to handle it. And I still stand by that. I think it's also a good idea to have this a few episodes in, rather than at the very beginning. Because this way you get to know the characters, so this episode can just focus on, what it needs to be about them first coming there. You don't also have to add in all the character development. And with a series like this that is segmented, I don't think they could have done that episode if they also had to develop the characters a lot in it. They would have had to make it a double-length episode to make that work. So I think it was a smart decision to have it done this way, to where it's you already know the characters, you don't need the development. Let's just focus on what actually happens during this time. So yeah, I like that. I think it was well handled. But the second segment was Raccooned. And this one is pretty simple. Bill and Cricket are trying to find Grandma Alice's bear, her stuffed bear, in the garage. And they end up coming across some raccoons who eventually make their way into the house. And yeah, Bill and Cricket, and eventually Tilly and Grandma as well, have to try and get rid of them. And they all have their different ways of doing so. Bill is very slow and patient and methodical. He's trying to trap them, to lure them. And I get that. That's fair. Cricket just wants to like shoo them out as quick as possible. He has no patience. Tilly wants to befriend them because it's Tilly. Of course she fucking does. She's a precious being and deserves to be protected because we love her. Yeah, she just wants to befriend them and become one with them. And Grandma wants to kill them because she is kind of terrifying. So they all try out their different methods, but it's not working. Through Tilly's encouragement, they decide to work together, and it does work out. Um, they end up succeeding. They unleash them into like this forested area in the city, kind of like this little nature park area, which, that just makes the raccoons go everywhere throughout the rest of the city anyway. So it's like, didn't really help matters, but they got them out of the house. So yeah. Also, the raccoons, their voices were done by D. Bradley Baker, and it's like, fucking, of course they were. It's like D. Bradley Baker always does the animal voices. um, and then we had episode 9, which had my favorite segment of the episode, or of all 3 of these episodes. But first we had Phil Bill, which, by the way, I love that title. Obviously a riff on Kill Bill, which I actually really enjoy the Kill Bill movies, and a lot of Tarantino films, but still. Kill Bill is Tarantino, right? Now I'm questioning myself. Either way, but that had nothing to do with this. Bill wants to feel like he fits in big city. So the way he thinks to do that is, let's go to a fancy hoity-toity big city restaurant. He's like, I have this gift card, so we don't have to worry about the money situation. So let's enjoy. So they go to a seafood fusion restaurant, which is actually a real thing in real life. There's all kinds of different fusions. Like, the most common you think of are the ones I named, like surf and turf or Tex-Mex, stuff like that, that fuses 2 different styles or cuisines together to create something new. Um, Fish and chips is a very basic thing that you don't really think of as a fusion dish. That was one of the dishes mentioned, but then there's other stuff in there, like a fish taco. It's like, yes, that is 100% a fusion dish. That's a very common one. But like, another fusion dish you could think of is like, again, surf and turf, having like shrimp with steak, which, by the way, is phenomenal. I love shrimp and steak. They do pair really fucking well together. But this restaurant is very weird with its ideas. For example, there's a sea monster burger, which is literally just a live octopus on 2 buns with a thing of lettuce. It's like, what? Like, yeah, there are some cases of like where live octopi are eaten. It is a thing, but usually they're like really tiny ones. They're not like big like that. They're tiny little octopi, um, and yeah, a lot of people usually cut them up before eating because otherwise, like, obviously they could get stuck and everything. Um, but it's like they're live when they're served and all, and the tentacles are still wriggling around. Um, I've never done that. I don't know if I would. Like, I'm an adventurous eater, but a live octopus would weird me out a little. And I love octopus, but still. Um, but yeah, it's like they have all this weird stuff. Like, there's this 12-course meal that Bill is kind of coerced into getting through an upselling waiter, and it's like just all this random fusion stuff. Um, and it's like, what the fuck? And most of it just happens to be seafood implemented in places in weird ways. Like, the fish taco is literally just a whole fish in a taco shell. And it's like, what? All right, sure. Um, and so he's trying to go through this 12-course meal because he wants to believe it will help him feel like he fits more in with the city. And during this, we have Cricket and Tilly trying to liberate the octopi because they grow attached to them. And Grandma Alice is trying to get a trident because she thinks it's hers. A trident she used when she used to hunt sea monsters. But apparently had to stop because of protesters, which is really funny. Um, but in the end, it's kind of revealed that the people behind this restaurant and everything are actually really fucking terrible. That they're just elitist shitbags. And Bill kind of comes to this realization through this hallucination he has from the 12 course meal that it's like he doesn't need to try and fit in like that. That he already fits in just by being there. He belongs just because he's there already. That he doesn't have to try and change himself to fit in. And that's a really fucking good lesson. It's just kind of out of nowhere. Um, but yeah, it's really fun. It's a really fun episode. But then we have the second segment of this episode, and the one that is my favorite segment of these three episodes for sure, and possibly one of my favorite segments of the show so far. Which is a tall order because there's been some good segments, but this one like impressed me, and not just because it was Gloria. Like I know I had talked in the pre-thoughts about wanting Gloria, and like it's like okay, she was the reason I wanted to check out this show. Where is she? Why haven't we gotten a lot of her? I want to see more of her, and it's like I don't expect her to be there in every episode, just like I don't expect Remy to be. But it's like I do want to see more of her. And I got my wish. We got her in two of these, actually, because she was in the Mama Bird episode when Tilly went over there to get her coffee creamer. Um, and then she was in this. And it's like she had a major role to play in this episode. It wasn't just like a little cameo or anything. She was like a major part of it. So, Cricket, Tilly, and Remy are playing Critter Ball, some ridiculous game they invented, I guess. That's sort of like kickball, but they utilize their farm animals, I guess. Like you even see this guy like watching from an apartment, and he's like, "I've been watching this for an hour, and I still have no clue what's going on, but I'm enjoying it. Go team!" It's like that's funny. It's like I don't fucking know, but sure, let's enjoy. Um, but they end up accidentally kicking a ball over the fence into the cafe. It lands in someone's coffee, and this obviously upsets Gloria. So she tells them to stop kicking balls over the fence, and it should end there, but they keep doing it. And they're not entirely doing it purposefully, but they're still just playing their game. And it just happens like every ball tends to go over the fence. So when they go over to get their balls back and investigate, they find that they made quite a fucking mess. Everything is destroyed. It's like a war zone there. They find Gloria, and she's like, "Yeah, don't ever talk to me again." But Cricket doesn't listen. So he goes in and he tries to get his balls back, but she doesn't want to have anything to do with him. He kind of forces her into talking through being a paying customer and talking about the Eiffel Tower statue that she has there. Like a little like figure statue kind of thing. And that actually gets her talking because she gets to talk about her dream. She gets to talk about her dream of living in Paris, where there's all kinds of great food, and there she could have her own cafe there. She can appreciate the art, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's like she just dreams of being there. I guess she also likes French accents because there's the joke. It's like of the French guy ordering the coffee, and she's like, "I don't know what you just said, but yes, I will marry you, Marcel." And it's like, what? It's really funny, but also really cute because it's like we're getting to know her character. We're getting to see what her dream is, what she wants from her life. And yeah, having seen that Ways We Feel Anxious video beforehand, I do know a little bit about her character already, something we haven't even touched on. Like, she came to the city to be an artist and a poet, but we haven't actually touched on that part of things yet. We just know a different dream that she has. So that's really interesting in and of itself. Um, but we see how much she just lights up when she talks about going to Paris and everything, and how much she loves that Eiffel Tower statue. It's like it's everything to her. It's important to her, and that's completely fair. It'd be like having one of my favorite plushes getting ripped up and stuff. It's like that would be horrible for me, because I love those plushes. Like that $50 Pip plush I got from TrotCon last year. It's like, one, that was fucking $50, so I don't want that ruined because of that. But also, it has sentimental meaning for me. I like it. It's something that I really love, and so it's like, yeah, I would be upset if anything happened to it. Um, but Cricket tries to devise a way to get his balls back. He decides to try and sneak in and get them, but finds the locker that they're locked in locked, as you would expect. So instead, he steals her Eiffel Tower statue and literally blackmails her with it, telling her, if you want this back, we got to do a trade. And she's like, she wants it back so much because it means so much to her, so she agrees to this. They're doing the trade, and they do typical like trade back kind of things, like, oh, you let me see it, you have to show it to me so I know it's okay. Usually you see this kind of joke done with like when someone's like trading like someone's freedom or something, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I just saw the episode recently, so I'm thinking about it. But when they were going to trade Baby Tom Tom for King Boomy, that's kind of what it reminds me of in season 2. Except instead of people here, it's just things that mean something to them. So Cricket like tells her, it's like, okay, throw me one of the balls first, then I'll give you your statue back. And she throws him one of the balls, but that was also a mistake on her part, because she throws it right at him while he's holding the statue, so it causes the ball to knock the statue out of his arms, hit the ground, and break. Which is like, yeah, that was also kind of her fault. That was a stupid decision. It would have made more sense to throw it to Tilly or Remy, who were both there. But at the same time, Cricket is more at fault here. Cricket is the one who started all of this in the first place, and he's definitely the one who, stole her statue in order to blackmail her into trading back and everything. So it's more his fault, and I very much feel bad for Gloria and not him. Because honestly, nothing really bad happened to him except his balls got taken away. It's like, he can live with that. But this is literally her dream. This means so much more to her than those balls mean to him. Let's be completely honest here. And we see how genuinely heartbroken she is when it breaks and everything. She is not okay. And it's like, I don't blame her. I do not blame her for a second. But they end up going into the cafe, and it leads into a big, basically dodgeball fight, which ends out with just Cricket and Gloria remaining. But Gloria's boss comes in, putting a halt to everything, and is about to fire Gloria, which, again, it's just like, at that moment, I was like just really upset, like, at Cricket. Like, I was actually angry at Cricket. But luckily he took accountability. He took responsibility for his actions And he told her boss, it's like, no, don't blame Gloria for this. This wasn't her fault. I did this. This was all on me. Don't fire her. Instead, hire me so I can work off all of this damage, and then you can fire me afterwards. Which, honestly is not just a good idea, is a brilliant idea on his part. It actually solves the problem. It saves Gloria's job, which is very clearly something she needs right now. And it's completely a good thing. Like, he did a good deed there. Not to mention, it was also just really quick thinking on his part to think of that. Like, that's just a really smart move too. Um, and so, despite child labor laws, he is hired to, work off the damages, and so yeah, they become co-workers. So that's a thing, I guess. Now I wonder if that's going to continue to last throughout, at least for some time in the series. um but we see them afterwards, and he makes up a model Eiffel Tower for her that's obviously not as well put together or anything. It's made of like popsicle sticks and shit, but you could see she genuinely appreciated the shit out of that. Like, it moved her that he would do something that nice for her, and that he showed that much care for her dream. And it fell apart right after, but still, it's like the sentiment was very much appreciated, and it shows that Cricket is actually able to understand when he does something wrong. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Sometimes it is hard to tell with him, because he's a rambunctious kid. Kids are like this. I was like this to a degree when I was a young kid. I actually grew out of that fairly quickly, but also because I started retreating into my shell pretty early on. But there was a time when I was a pretty rambunctious kid, and I would do shit like that. Um, but yeah, it's like this episode was my favorite, or this segment was my favorite segment of all of these episodes, because of the depth it gave to Gloria, but also it was just really well written. It was well written, it was well handled, um, and it felt more serious. Like, there were jokes in it and everything, still, obviously, but it felt more serious than other episodes have. Like, even the Welcome Home episode of them coming to Big City, which is, a big origin episode and everything, that was still very goofy and silly. This was the first episode, or the first segment, that felt like it was actually trying to be something more than just a goofy comedy. And I already knew from the Ways We Feel Anxious video that I was going to like Gloria. I already liked her. Again, she's the reason I wanted to check out this series. And this episode really hammered that in. Like, because we hadn't gotten a lot of her, like, I couldn't really say much about her prior to this episode, to this segment. Um, because of that, by default, Tilly had kind of became my favorite character, because I really couldn't have um, Gloria as my favorite character before that, just because I didn't know enough about her. But this episode developed her really well, gave her so much more depth and character and just likability. It's just like, and again, by having it to where she's the one you sympathize with the most in this episode, she's the one who you side with, because Cricket is like ruining her life and her dream. It's like that also makes her extremely likable to the audience, and allows you to connect with her on a deeper level. Like, you've already had plenty of time to connect with Cricket and Tilly and Bill and Grandma Alice and all them, but now you get to connect with Gloria, and it's like, it's really well done. It feels so natural, so right, and yeah, I really, really fell in love with her character in this episode. Like, honestly, I can't see how anyone else could be my favorite character. Like Tilly's close, but and I still love Tilly, but Gloria is just like I connected with her here. It's like I don't like coffee and everything, and I definitely don't have the mental state to be working at a place like that. Um, but at the same time, it's like I just like really like it just clicked, you know? Her character just clicked for me. And yeah, so I really, really liked the episode. And yes, part of that is because of Gloria. I can't deny that. It's not all because of Gloria. It's also just because it's a really well written, paced, and directed episode. It's just really good in general. But yes, Gloria does help with that because she's just a really great character, and I really sympathize with her, and I want to see her dreams come true. You know, I would love to see her get her own cafe in Paris. I would love to see her find love. Like that would be awesome. So, yeah, I really liked all three of these episodes, but that one was definitely my favorite, especially because of the second segment. And sorry for talking so long. It's like I had to get through talking about three episodes, 6 segments worth of content here. So, to be fair, um, but like I said before, this is going to be going on break for a little bit. It sucks, and we did leave off on some really good episodes, and especially with the last segment being my favorite of them. Uh, so it'll whet my appetite for the time being. We can take a break, but we will obviously be coming back to this. It's just Ruby is a priority show for me, so that's going to take the slot for now. But I will be getting back to this to Big City Greens in the future, so expect more of that at some point. And hopefully it just continues to get even better. Hopefully we get more information about the mom as it continues along, more stuff with Gloria, and so on and so forth. In the meantime, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of these episodes of Big City Greens? And thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.